Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 8 of Inbound Now. I'm joined here with a very special guest, Tamar Weinberg. Tamar is a big blogger. She writes over at her own blog, techopedia.com. She manages the community support and advertising over at mashable.com. She's the author of New Community Rules Marketing on the Social Web, and she's also a social media consultant. So thanks for coming on the show, Tamar.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I wanted to get you on the show to talk, I want to dive really deep into, some social media stuff that you write about on your blog. And then we have some fan questions that have been submitted through our Facebook fan page. And I kind of want to shoot those at you and see what your thoughts are.
Sure.
And if we have time, maybe see what's looking, some trends moving on into the future with social media. But we'll see. All right, cool. Sound good?
Sounds great.
All right. So in interviews and on your blog, you explain that you've been practicing, social media since the early 90s. How did you get involved so soon, and what social media are you talking about in the early 90s?
The interesting thing was when I was 12 years old, I was offered either a party for my bat mitzvah or a computer. I kind of said I wanted a party. My parents said, well, you're getting the computer. I said, okay. And I kind of, the first thing I did was just get it hooked up, and I discovered this whole thing called a modem. And online, there were a number of different ways to communicate with individuals, from chat rooms in AOL to bulletin board systems that were local to my library. And, when you call it social media, I mean, the term has really been, it's a relatively new term. But if you think about the fact that online engagement in general, which for me was 1992. Online engagement really started as soon as computers were able to connect to each other, through modems and other types of telecommunications, network, whatever, technology.
Right.
So back then, I mean, that was the first thing I did. I knew that when I was 12 years old, when I started learning about AOL, I remember the first time I was ever in a chat room was at 6 o'clock in the morning. I was getting ready for school, and I was in a chat room with two people. Being 12 years old, one guy is like, I'm 50, and the other guy was in his 30s. And I remember responding, 50? You're so old. Like, I didn't know, because I didn't know how to interact with people that were different, like, not different. They weren't, not much different than my parents or whatever,
Right.
but the fact was that they were people that I don't interact with regularly. And I realized that there's something really cool about that. But the second guy, who was in his 30s, was the coolest thing ever, because we were in this chat room, three of us, at like 6 in the morning. And this is when AOL had how many members? Couple thousand, if even that. And the guy was actually who went to the same high school as me, and we had the same teachers. And I was like, whoa. And I was like, this is cool. This is a way to communicate with people online and do some, this is a way to communicate with people in a very different way. And from then I was pretty much hooked. I mean, I found like these online niche communities. I was a community manager in some of the communities there. And now I'm here. I mean, I pretty much wanted to major in something IT or computer related, based on the fact that I've had such a really powerful experience online, back in the beginning of the 90s.
Right. That's cool how, you made that connection with someone that you didn't really have a connection with. And then, with the 30-year-old, it kind of ties back into the real world where you can connect with people offline as well, right? So
yeah, it was really cool.
That's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool story. So, you started, using social media there. What would you recommend to others, kind of dipping their toe into social media right now? Where should they start?
Well, I think that it really depends on the communities that your service or product targets. So, for example, if you're interested in a number of, like, if you're doing finance, for example, there are a number of niche financial websites out there. For example, like tips.com, tipd.com, which it's a social bookmarking site. But there's also and it seems that I believe the Inc. 500 is actually finding that the best targets of their social media efforts are actually niche forums. So you're not just talking about social bookmarking, you're not talking about Twitter and Facebook, which happens to be very powerful, and blogging as well. You're talking about these really these small forums that you can uncover that really, really help you hone down really, really nichely and deeply into your subject matter. So I think that kind of depends on what you're doing. Of course, we could think about the Twitter, the Facebooks, the even Quora, but not so much because, you don't want to just go there and self-promote so regularly. But if you have that area of expertise, you can. Just think about those areas where you can really target and narrow down to the service offerings, to the needs of people who are looking for your service. So that's definitely what I would definitely go there. It's I can't really give a one size fits all answer because it just isn't for any type of business.
Right, and that's actually one of the questions I had later in the interview. In a post you wrote, "The Truth About Social Media." You say that social media is more than just Facebook and Twitter, and you talk about how there's all these niche communities out there where there's people that are really engaged in these smaller micro communities that are who your company may want to be targeting instead of just blasting stuff out to Facebook or Twitter.
Right, absolutely.
Cool. So let's see. So fan question number 1 comes from Mark Masson. He asked, "What social media tool do you view as a necessity for every marketer?"
Well, I think that it seems that the tools that have the critical mass, if you will, are the tools that people already know about. But I would say for using social media and actually engaging regularly, I am a big fan of Hootsuite. I am using a paid plan, but I do think that it's just a great way to put all of my social media activities into one single dashboard, or at least the main social media activities of Twitter and Facebook, that is, in one social media dashboard where I can do the engagement, monitor the engagement, and perhaps the click-throughs, and really just have an opportunity of just putting so many accounts there. But I would also add, and I'm a huge fan of this, and it's relatively new. It's actually, I meant to answer this in one of these questions that I think you're going to answer later. But Rapportive, rapportive.com. That is, I'm not using Outlook. I'm using Gmail, and Rapportive is I think one of these indispensable tools to really get to know the people that you're dealing with, like through email communication. And a lot of the work that I do is in email. Just the regular, whether it's just customer service or just relationship building with customers or whatever it possibly is. Ad sales on the Mashable side. I want to know who I'm talking to. And Rapportive is a really cool tool that gives you this sidebar view on your Gmail pane, where usually some of the ads are. Like the individual has the individual's avatar, their location, city, state, their job descriptions. They pull it from LinkedIn. They get their Facebook status updates, their Twitter status updates, and a variety of other social media network links like TungleMe, their TungleMe schedule and their calendar. And so many other tools. And I think it's just so cool to be able to know a little more about people and what they're passionate about, because you can see their Twitter feed. But it's also, and I got to say that such a minor detail, but I just would never have known. I've been emailing someone for about 2 or 3 years, and I always thought this person was a guy. But when I installed Rapportive and I saw that the avatar was of a female, I was like, holy, whatever. And, that's the kind of thing that Rapportive really helps you with. I mean, you think that you're not going to take advantage of this stuff, but you really are. I mean, when you deal with in a global capacity where people have names that you would assume, oh, it sounds like it's a female name, but it's totally not. Like, that's the kind of thing that Rapportive can really help you with, especially because there's just that geographic border barrier dropping, but, it just makes it easier to connect with them. So right. I love that.
Cool. It sounds like it puts a lot of context around, it's kind of like a mini CRM, if you will, inside of your Gmail.
Yeah, it is. It absolutely is. That's what they really are doing. I mean, it's totally about customer relationship management. So
that's awesome. And is that a free tool or is that paid right now?
It's free. It's absolutely free for now. I don't know what they're planning on doing, but they're doing a great job at what they got there. So
I'm going to check that out for sure. Okay. So another question I had for you, you wrote another blog post, why most people fail at social media. And you mentioned that without an understanding of your community and an understanding of the influencers, you're destined to fail. What exactly did you mean by this?
Well, I think that it's really, really, really important not to just go out there and broadcast. And a lot of people, I think, go to social media without a plan. They just say, oh, you know what, I'm going to go on Facebook, I'm going to go on Twitter right now, and I'm just going to either start broadcasting, just sending messages, check my site out here and URL, and not care about anything. And then, when they realize that doesn't work, they're like, well, you know what? I know this. I can use this @ sign and I can go, Tamar check this site out now and the URL. And tomorrow, I have no idea. Like for me, I have no idea who the heck they are, and I'm just like, okay, not interested. That's the kind of thing that they're just going out there. They don't understand who they're trying to target. They don't have any goals or targeting, plan, and they're just kind of broadcasting. But I think that for social media to really be effective, it's about understanding who the types of people are that would actually be interested in your product, and then building relationships around building relationships around these communications. Where there's a great example, and a colleague of mine, Marty Weintraub, had made a blog post about how he had gone to he visited Florida once and set like the Keys in Florida. And all of a sudden, somebody who was specializing in renting electric cars, like just started talking to him, in South Florida. And she's like, I hope you're having a great trip. And, she just started just talking to him regularly and trying to realize that, because he said that he's in the Keys in Florida, and because she happens to specialize in products that are specific to South Florida, she really got out there. And, he was so enamored by her approach and how genuinely she was interested in him. Obviously, she had a goal here because it was a marketing of her product, but it was very powerful. And they went out for dinner. I mean, they took it a lot more beyond just let me just broadcast and go out there. You're not going to. No one's going to click on that link. No one's going to care if you're just going to start promoting like that. And I'm not just talking about Twitter. I'm talking about forums. If you go to a forum and you just start doing, check out the site, that it's like the equivalent of spam in your inbox. You're not going to click on that. You're going to hit report as spam, and maybe you're going to ban the user from that social network if you're an administrator. So it's really, really about going in there, giving of yourself, and then taking of others. I guess that's really the way to put it. Come bearing gifts. And then obviously we're all here for marketing purposes, or I guess most of us. And that just comes later.
Right. So it's about building that relationship first and not just saying, hey, I got something you can buy. It's actually helping them with something or giving them some useful information. Then further down on the line, hey, and by the way, I have this, for sale that you might be interested in. If not,
right.
That's cool, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's really about trying to find the people who are interested in it. It's really about understanding the people that you're going to reach out to beforehand. And when you have that relationship, typically you have that understanding. So it really goes out. You can start promoting to all 180 million people on Twitter, but they're not interested. So start, when you're doing something like that, you really need to search for people who are looking for things that you're interested in, or maybe even your competitors, and saying, hey, you hate my competitor. Hey, I'm here too. So, I mean, take that, seize the day.
Right. And so what about on the influencer side of things? You wrote another post, basically how to gain influencers' attention, and you reached out to a bunch of marketing influencers and got their opinions on it. What would be some tips to kind of build that relationship and maybe get them on your side moving forward?
I would say it's a couple of things. First of all, go where they are in real life. Like seriously. I'm going to say South by Southwest and Vlog World and maybe even CS. Those are the places where they're always at. I mean, find out where they are. If they're having, if bloggers are having a blogger meetup and of those influencers that you want to reach out to, come to them and talk to them, and don't just come and kiss up to them, but just like build a relationship with them. Again, it's all about social media isn't any different than relationship building. So the in-person relationships are so extremely powerful. But yeah, I mean, all of this stuff does take time to cultivate, and it's also about doing that as well online. I mean, when you're talking about somebody who has millions of followers, it's not just about there's a lot of attention to them and from so many people. I mean, it's dispersed. So how do they see you? Well, it's about interacting. I mean, we're talking about commenting on blog posts, for example, maybe sending email pitches that are really, really, really tied into their interest, maybe perhaps either Twitter or Facebook. I mean, you have the opportunity to follow them so you can see. So there are a lot of ways to do that. But it's really something to be very careful of, because you don't want to just send somebody, an influencer like 5 months ago might say, well, I absolutely hate chicken. And then like 6 months later, or 5 months later, you're that chicken, you have this chicken special at your, I don't know, this is completely different, but you're just saying, oh, I have this chicken special, come out. And it's like, wait a minute, you didn't read that I hate, you gotta really, really read into them, and you gotta like show that you know them beyond just the last blog post that they have, which is, I think, a big problem when it comes to press, public relations, where, a lot of people just send out pitches and they say, well, because you've written about bingo, you might be interested in this online casino, but the site is like a social media site, because I've seen that happen, where actually it's a story that comes close to home, where there's a blog that had blogs, just talked about like an online meme that had bingo in it, and some bingo site is like, well, you know what, you can blog about my site too. But no, it's not about that. It's about really, really reading and understanding what the site is about, and who the person, the influencer is, and what they can promote, and how you can kind of inject yourself in there by also being sensitive to their wants and needs.
Right. So it's aligning, mutual interests together and actually doing your homework before, sending out a form pitch or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I thought it was interesting that you said, meeting these influencers in person kind of solidifies that relationship you have been, maybe trying to build online. I think you're right. When you meet these people in person, it kind of just puts a body to, an avatar, and you can kind of connect in a deeper way, in person. So
absolutely
cool. So another social media truth that you mentioned, social media is a continuous effort, and not something that's only campaign based. So you mean I can't just do a Twitter contest for an iPad and be all set with my social media?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, I think that a lot of people do these contests, and then they're just like, follow us on Twitter and here's a contest, and then their Twitter account is dead for like the next 6 months until they need to have another Twitter contest for brand awareness. That's definitely not what you want to do. You want to actually have something where it's ongoing, where you might have that Twitter contest in the interim, but throughout you're gonna promote perhaps your products and services. But you're also gonna perhaps offer community customer service, and show the people who are following you, because they are, and that's earned placement, that that they deserve that you deserve to be followed. I mean, when I thought about that, I wasn't really thinking necessarily about just the Twitter campaigns, but I'm talking about like the YouTube campaigns, where and I have a really, really interesting story where I worked with a client, a big retail chain, and they had a viral video that they wanted to promote, and it was a YouTube video. And part of what I was tasked with doing was with blogger outreach. And I went to a number of bloggers and I said, hey guys, check this out. And, and a lot of people were like, oh, this is really cool, let me share it. But some of them were like, oh, I don't care, whatever. And then a few other people were like, this is really, really cool. Where's their Twitter feed? Where's their Facebook feed? I would like to point to other online properties. And I was like, I don't really know. And after that video campaign was over, that was it. I mean, I found one Twitter campaign not one Twitter account that was like, it was supposed to be kind of for internal use. It was talking about like how the trucks were leaving the facility. That's not something you would want to send to a consumer. And I think that's really, really important to understand that social media is not something that, it stops after people stop watching this video, because this brand awareness thing is supposed to continue forever. And I think companies are really starting to understand that, but some of them just don't get it yet.
Right. I would totally agree. I just see one-off campaigns, and then their Twitter account is just dead forever, and it's like, okay, good try, but kind of you got to be in there all the time, and it's really a full-time position at a lot of these companies, and they're starting to realize that, but we'll see. So cool. So and another one, you say social media is social, and this seems, oh yeah, of course it is, but a lot of people just use Twitter and Facebook to broadcast their blog and what have you, right? So speaking of your blog, it's pretty popular. You get a lot of retweets, a lot of comments, and you say that writing a blog post, it doesn't end after you hit publish, but you actually have to market that blog. So how do you go about doing that?
Well, it's really, it's sort of the same thing about influencer outreach. It's all about not just going and hitting publish. It's about talking to the people who would be interested in your blog, in your niche, whether or not it's specifically about, reaching out to those influencers by commenting on their blog and saying, well, I really, really appreciate it. Linking to your name, doing stuff like that, or saying, I wrote about it here, but not doing that too obsessively, where every single blog post you have a response. I think it's really, really important you can't just, right now there's so much content out there that there's just no way for everybody to discover everything at all. So it's important. It's not just about the publishing process, but the marketing process. And again, it's about broadcasting it, but also networking, not just broadcast, but building those networks with the right people who would be interested in promoting your content. I mean, this could be not just dealing with the people directly and saying, and going out to every single blogger that you're interested in commenting, but it's also about submitting it to those social sites that would be of interest, or finding, using like Yahoo answers to have, you say, I have an answer right here. The types of things that you could do where it's not just about direct one-on-one, because that's a very arduous process, but that's something that kind of you need to do when you have an industry with so many people kind of vying for the same type of visibility. But yeah, just trying to think about the places where people are already seeking out your answers, and promoting that there as well.
Okay, cool. Have you seen this being done in Quora at all? You mentioned Yahoo Answers, kind of similar.
I'm thinking about it, and it was something I wanted to say. I haven't seen it so much because I see that the answers on Quora are essentially like blog posts of themselves. I feel like the questions on Quora are so specific that you end up. I mean, people could say, "Well, I'm taking my comment to my blog," but eventually, it's really about keeping the conversation on Quora. And I don't see many people taking that conversation, bringing that conversation to Quora, or taking it away. I think that the conversation still seems to happen on that site.
True. Yeah, I'm still on the fence about it. We'll see where it goes. But yeah, I definitely agree with you. It's about building those relationships with other bloggers, and commenting, and subscribing to their blog, sharing their stuff, and that's ultimately gonna get you more inbound links, visibility, and comments on your own blog. It's not just about publishing it and they will come, because like you said, there's a lot of content out there. So cool. So another fan question from Alexa Hudson. She asks, what is your fave blogging site? I guess that's favorite. And what do you consider to be the absolute thing you need to know before you start blogging? So I guess it's a two-part question.
Yeah, sure. I am very, very, very. I love WordPress. I mean, I have it. I have like 13 installations now, probably more, like a couple dozen installations of WordPress across a variety of other sites that I own. And I think that it's just such a versatile tool with so many plugins, and it's just a lot. It's much easier to manage than Movable Type in my experience, because Movable Type requires, you to install stuff into different directories, and sometimes they don't work. Right. But I digress. WordPress is really, really cool. There's so much customization there, plugins and just themes out available, and I'm really, really a fan of that. As far as blogging and what you need to think about before you start, it's all about kind of bringing all of what I said together, that once you publish content, it's not just that's not the end of the day, for you. You got to promote it. And, search engines aren't even going to find you unless there are links coming to your site. I mean, they'll probably eventually find you, but you really got to do some inbound linking. So, but it's all about like understanding when you're blogging that this is something that, like I say, that the most successful bloggers are committed to it from the start. And I see a lot of people who say, I started my blog 6 months ago and I gave up because nobody's giving me traffic, and nothing's happening. It's not an overnight process, and it's a difficult process, and it's something that, I mean, if you can commit to one post a week for a long time, and you can also commit to marketing your content, you would do well. But I see so many people, like, they're so excited, they come out with like 5 posts in one day, and then they come out with 4 the next day, and then for the first week they have like 20 posts. And they're like, wait a minute, I don't have any more content to write. So it's something that you set yourself up with an editorial calendar, set yourself up with a way to market yourself, and really kind of give yourself the knowledge, arm yourself with the understanding that this is something that you're going to need to do for success for the long haul. And whether, if you're a one-man shop, that might be very difficult. If you're not, you can enlist in some staff members, you can get some and even if you're a one-man shop, you can bring in people from the outside to promote you and to write for you. So there's totally things that you can do there. And I really would say that that's the way I would go for that.
Right. You can pull in guest bloggers and what have you there. But yeah, I think you're dead on. It's about keeping up with that content, and I see a lot of blogs just die after they have that sprint of 10 posts, and then like, wow, this is hard. So And I had Chris Brogan on 2 shows ago, and he said that it took him 8 years to get more than 100 subscribers to his blog. What about you with your blog? Like, how long did it kind of take you to build that up?
It's funny because I remember meeting Chris Brogan, and this is a story I told my friend who reminded me of it because I completely forgot. Chris Brogan was starting to get kind of big in the end of 2008. No one really knew about him then, and I don't want to insult my friend, so I'm not saying anything. But I was at South by Southwest in 2000. Was it in 2008 or 2009? Yeah, no, it was it was South by Southwest, I think 2009. And I remember seeing him in like the blogger lounge, and I'm like, oh my God, that's Chris Brogan. And the guy I was with, who's relatively known and now knows Chris Brogan pretty well, it's like, who? And it's kind of thing that people aren't going to know you in the beginning, but it's all about really dedicating yourself to doing that. As for me, I don't really know where, I wasn't really focused on subscriber numbers at all in the beginning. It was just kind of building on my passion. So I remember though, like it might have taken about a year or so to hit. It wasn't 8 years because I was kind of just blogging religiously and going to those networking events and just, for me, my background was in search engine marketing. So I went to like, the SMX and SEX and PubCon, all of those conferences and really building up the relationships there. And I think that helped a ton because there wasn't really Twitter and Facebook weren't around when I was kind of doing that. But yeah, I mean, it was really kind of, it took some time. I think that, it might've been 1 or 2 years to hit like 2,000 subscribers. And now I'm like in my 60 or so. So
Yeah.
it takes some time. And I mean, right now I'm not blogging as regularly as I used to. I've contributed to a lot of the sites, like Lifehacker and Search Engine Roundtable and blog, like those are sites that I had previously contributed to, which I think also helps, having the visibility on those major blog sites helps drive subscribers to your site, which is actually something that I would recommend you doing if you do have the know-how to expand outside your niche, or even you're just just expands your knowledge beyond your site. But it did take some time, and it's a long, grueling process. I mean, right now I have like 12,000 subscribers, which you think about it, in 5 years I've hit like that's 10,000, which again, it's the dedication you need. If I was blogging twice a week, I would have more than double, but I just don't. So it's something to think about.
Right. And I think what you touched on just there, if your blog isn't that established, reaching out and guest posting for sites that are established in your industry or niche or whatever, it's a great way to kind of gain instant credibility, if you will, and drive traffic to your own blog. So I think that's a key point there. So what are some of your favorite blogs for keeping up with the social media space?
I think that there's a lot of sites just for the internet marketing space altogether. It's like, I can't really this is not going to be a comprehensive list, and I'm going to probably leave people out unintentionally. But I would say that I like Search Engine Land, which is more, it's cohesive of social media, but it's also like the SEO, pay-per-click. I like their sister bookmarking site, SPHINN.com. Yes, that is a play on words. And it's sort of like submissions from all the variety of social media sites, not social media sites, but search engine marketing sites, including social media. So you can get a lot of like the highly voted upon content on the front page. So that's good stuff. So I can find content that I might have not previously discovered. I am a fan of Social Media Explorer, Jason Falls' website. We're also colleagues. We are currently working together with DJ Waldo and Nick Hunt. We're building up a 101 social media class called Exploring Social Media, powered by Bloomfire. So exploring-socialmedia.bloomfire.com. We're doing that and providing really good social media content. So I would say that that's one of those favorite sites for social media beginner type of work. I think PR Squared, I think it's more public relations and social media, but Todd Deffern writes some really good stuff. Brian Solis writes really good stuff. Chris Brogan, I would definitely say Seth Godin. Seth Godin is one of those marketer guys who just has a gem of good thoughts all the time.
Yeah, I don't know. He comes out with like a new post every day, and it's not long. It's like a paragraph, but it's just like so succinct, and it's just like, wow, that's
Yeah, and you're like, wait a minute, I didn't think about that, or maybe you just reiterated something that I really needed to know. So I like that, those little snippets can really change your outlook on things, which is nice. The Future Buzz, Adam Singer writes some good stuff as well. He considers himself not a social media guy, but a digital marketing guy. So I need to make that clear. Um, Brass Tack Thinking, Amber and Tamsin, they have some really good stuff as well.
right. I'm trying
Um,
to get Amber on the show. She just
yeah,
launched her new book, so I'm trying to get her on. There's some
yeah,
scheduling stuff,
she's
but
pretty busy, but that's perfect for her.
yeah.
And I can't, I would be remiss without mentioning, Mashable, because Mashable, having been with Mashable since 2007, I would say that, like, I remember we're just promoting so many amazing little toolbox posts, like, 100 tools for doing like audio online. And I mean, we've gone from really providing like these little snippets of data to like really, really deep analysis of posts. Some amazing stuff. We're on a staff of like we've got over 30 people working for us full time. And I mean, I would say that just seeing how we've grown, it's been a really, really crazy and amazing experience. And I'm really, really proud of how we've done that in Nashville. So
Yeah, yeah. I'm a big fan of Mashable. Been reading it for a long time. I actually met Pete at South by Southwest last year, and that was pretty cool. So
are you headed there this year?
I'm not. I'm not. I
Oh,
wish I was. I did not get my ticket in time. So
oh man, well, I don't think it's too late, but
yeah,
I know people are still booking. So if you're there, look for me and
totally.
everyone else, I guess.
So
Yeah.
so where can people find you online?
You can find me online at Tamar on Twitter. Facebook, you can there. I have a public page, facebook.com/tamar.tech, techopedia.com. That's my main site. And you can find some stuff, but not so much from Mashable. And there's also a Facebook page for the New Community Rules. So just facebook.com/New Community Rules. I guess
Cool.
that's pretty much it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, Mark, thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate all the insights about social media. I thought it was really good, and we hope to get you back sometime.
Yeah. Thank you for having me again.
Thank you.